This is CAJrrman and welcome to my first geocaching video. I've been caching since 2007 and I've hidden over 100 caches and recently just found my 13,000th cache. But you know what? Sometimes caches need maintenance, and today is the day we're going to go and fix a few problems that have been reported. Several of the caches we'll be checking on today are little micros like this one, and they have these little O-rings that deteriorate a lot of times over winter because somebody over tightens them and they get squished. But the O-rings deteriorate and disappear, and then the inside of this cache gets wet, and unfortunately the log inside sometimes turns into a nasty little wad of goo. So I went to Home Depot and found some O-rings to replace them with, and of course I have some logs to go with them. And so we're going to go out and replace a few today. So let's head on out and find some caches. Well, here we are by the Highline Canal here in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and this huge tree right behind me. First cache we're going to check on today is called Hanging Around with Some Lizards. It's one of my oldest caches, hidden in 2010, and it's one of a series of 8 caches that I hid in the Hanging Around series back then. This particular one is 100 yards away, and we'll go over there right now. Surprising how different it can look in the summer versus the winter. I see it. Got bugs back here. All right. Here's the little bugger right now. As you can see, there's no O-ring on it. Let's take a look at the log, or perhaps the wad of goo that might be in there. Oop, there it is. Well, not quite goo yet, but it's pretty wet. Yeah, pretty wet, pretty fragile. Tears real easy. It's time to replace it. I'll put it down here for the moment. Pick it up before we go.
Don't litter.
That's right. The actual container is perfectly dry because the paper soaked up all the water. So here we have the O-rings. Get one out. It'll slip right on where it belongs. And then now I need a fresh log, which I have in my pocket here. I use these logs too when I find a random cache that isn't mine that needs a log. I'll put one in it, whether it's wet or perhaps missing or full. So I always have a fresh log. In fact, that's what it says at the top, fresh log. So I'll just roll it up, stick it in there to replace the old one. All right, so here's the cache. It's got the fresh log in there. And here's the screw-on lid with the new O-ring. It's all ready to go. Screw that on, we'll put it back where it belongs. So this next cache is called Hanging Around the East-West Trail. East-West Trail. So it's just a little ways down here in a tree. We'll go see if we can find it again. So this is one of those hanging around caches, but it's not where it's supposed to be. So the logical place to look for it is, if it isn't hanging around, it must be on the ground, and sure enough, it's right down there. Right here. No wonder the last person who looked for it couldn't find it. It has the same problem, no O-ring. Let's fix that. There we go. Good for the next cacher. Let's go to the next one. Hey, we're at another one of my caches. This one's called Edgar. Edgar is part of a series of caches I had years ago that were based on characters from science fiction movies. Edgar was one of the characters in the first Men in Black movie. He was the bad guy, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and he really had some criminal intent in that movie. And remember the TV show he was in by that same name? Let's go see the state of this cache, see if it's a good log or another wad of goo. It's not where it's supposed to be. Let's see if it fell down behind the tree here. It was supposed to be in the V of the tree. Oh, there it is. Found it. There we go. Another one of these. Once again, no O-ring. Oh, it's unreal tight. Let's see what we have inside. Yep, kind of a wad of goo like I was suspecting would be the case. So let me grab a new O-ring first. Grab a fresh log that I brought with me. Usually better to put it in the cap first and it's easier to screw on. I like the spot it was, even though it wasn't where it was originally. Just sitting right in there. Good to go. Well, in case you were wondering, CAJrrman, my caching name, is a combination of my initials, C-A-J, and Railroad Man. So you can see we're here by a small trestle over the Highland Canal. This is the old Santa Fe Railroad right here. And I have a long-term interest in railroads ever since I was a kid, doing model trains and pictures of real trains. So that's my caching name too. We are at the trailhead for another cache of mine called Hanging Around the West Edge. This is the west side or west edge of Deer Creek Canyon Park, and this trail right here is not very well known. We're the only ones parked here, and the cache is just a little ways up here, so let's go find it. Just a little ways up here. This is one of those semi-evil pine tree hides. It's the only one I have like this in a pine tree anymore. I have a hard time finding them, so I don't feel good in hiding them so much anymore. Let's go see if we can find it. As pine tree hides go, this one's not too hard actually. It's not that bushy of a pine tree. It's right in there. We'll go take a look. Somewhere. I'm not seeing it. So the last person who found it was just on July 3rd. Today is July 6th. And it's got to be here somewhere. I'm just not seeing it.
It's right there.
It's right there. What do you know? I was looking too high. But there we have it. Good to go. Motorcycles. Yay. If this was smell-o-vision, you'd know that there's a skunk nearby. Where there's one, there could be another, so we need to be careful. This cache wasn't recorded as needing maintenance, but since we were close to it, we decided to stop here. It's called an army of frogs. Can you see it in the picture? Look closely now. Just a couple steps off the path, and here it is right here. Blends in pretty well. And it still has one frog in it. And a few other... yeah, there's another frog in there too. Army of frogs. It was originally full of a bunch of frogs. Now it just has those two, which is fine. Let's see what this is. Catfish's treasure. This looks like a cache itself. Let's see what's in it. Oh, it's a coin. Okay. So we'll just put that back. It actually isn't where it's supposed to be, but that wasn't a bad spot. Let's see, right up here. That's where I'm going to put it, back where it belongs. So here we are at Highlands Ranch Park. One last cache to check on. It's another in the Hanging Around series. We're just down the road, less than a mile from where Geo Woodstock was a few years ago, and this cache got a lot of finds that day. It has almost 300 finds on it. Let's go check on it since we were going by anyway. It's just down the trail here. Everything's good here in this cache. This is the third container on this cache. Had various problems with it. Last time I was here, it was the lid was missing and everything was in bad shape. I'm going to hide a little better than it was. There, it'll be better. Well, we're back from our geocaching trip. Leo here didn't help any, but he's always good to come back to. We found a few caches that needed repair, and we did so, and a few that didn't. And all in all, a good little trip. Thanks for watching my first video, and stay tuned. Maybe there'll be another one before too long.